Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you are having a fantastic day. Coming up on today's show, a 49ers News and Rumors Mailbag where we take all of your questions in the lead up to the 2022 NFL Draft. First question coming in from Chua. I saw a rumor about the Niners and the fact that they're going to sign Deebo Samuel. Is that true or not? What can you believe at this point? I think obviously San Francisco is interested in bringing back one of the most dynamic offensive players that the National Football League has seen over the last 5 to 10 years, and really historically considering what he did as a wide receiver at that running back spot. I think it all comes down to the price tag. What are the Niners willing to pay him? And is Deebo willing to come to his senses and come back to the Bay after demanding a trade? It looks as though right now that relationship is fractured. It is somewhat contentious, but can they come together? I hope so, because Deebo Samuel is a special player and means a lot to this locker room. Next question coming in from Frozone. Do you think that we can trade Deebo and a third for a 10th and 38th pick from the New York Jets and take a running back and a wideout? I think if you were to receive 10th and 38th from the New York Jets, you're not taking a running back. Now, could you take a wide receiver at 10? Yes. But at 38, I think the Niners are going to go best player available or position of need, which could be right tackle, could be center, could be edge rusher if there's a really good one on the board. Maybe they even go edge rusher at 10 and wide receiver at 38, a player like George Pickens or another player who might slide into the second round like Jahan Dotson. The wide receiver depth the last couple of drafts, especially this year, is extremely deep. Whether you go for one at 10 or at 38, there's going to be a good one on the board for you. Hanif Razak, one of our most loyal watchers. What are the chances that the Niners draft Khalil Shakir and keep Deebo Samuel? And if that happens, what are the chances that the 49ers win the Super Bowl? I think whether you have Deebo Samuel on this roster or not, this is a roster that is set up to make another deep run in the NFL playoffs. They have some premier players on both sides of the ball. Now, Khalil Shakir, I was just pulling up my draft notes really quickly. I like his game, somewhat underknown because he went to Boise State, but he can certainly play. 6 foot, 196 pounds. I don't think he's anybody you're going to have to target in like the first or second round. Maybe he's available to you in that third round. Did run at the NFL Combine a 4.43 40-yard dash, 34.5 vertical jump, so he obviously has some really good athleticism. NFL.com has him listed as a 79 overall grade. So I don't think he's going to be a round 1 guy. He might not even be a round 2 guy. But if you can get him at good value in the third round, I might be down for that. Now for Hanif Razak, Shakir might be his favorite dream target. Who is your favorite dream target who the 49ers could draft in the NFL draft? Give me a name or names in the comment section right now. Jason Lutz. Would you trade Deebo 1-for-1 for any player in this draft? If no, how does that not mean he's worth more than number 1 overall? Because a wide receiver would never go atop the NFL draft. So I don't think you're going to trade Deebo to the Jacksonville Jaguars and be like, hey, can we get that number 1 overall pick? His value isn't that high. Now, would I trade him 1-for-1 for any player out there? Honestly, man, I love Treylon Burks. I like Garrett Wilson. I really like Drake London out of USC. He reminds me of a skinnier Mike Evans. There are a lot of players who intrigue me as Deebo Samuel replacements. It's just not a guarantee that they're going to be able to replace all of the production that Deebo Samuel gave you last year. David Delgado, Goat Chase. Before Deebo rumors, I was focused on a corner to be drafted or an offensive lineman. What do you think? Well, first, David, you're the GOAT. I am not the GOAT. Offensive lineman at 61, maybe a guy like Abraham Lucas out of Washington State is available. He could be your future right tackle, and right away, he might be able to play right guard. Cole Strange is also a guy who a lot of people are high on. I don't think you're going to get any of the elite offensive linemen at 61 overall, but you can get some really good offensive linemen at that spot. In the secondary, there are a couple of names that really intrigue me. I might, instead of looking at corner, look at safety for a guy like Jalen Petrie out of Baylor or Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. Those players do intrigue me a lot, but we know that the Niners also really, really value edge rushers. If a guy like Kingsley Enagbare is available, I think they could look to go that route as well. This draft isn't necessarily top heavy for the first 15 selections. It's more so deep, 15 and on, where you can get some really good players. Chain Gang, who are the top wide receiver targets if the Niners do move up? So in no particular order, I think that Treylon Burks might be my favorite as far as a Deebo Samuel replacement because of what he can do through the air and on the ground and him just being a physical freak. But the top 5 wide receivers, in my opinion, in no particular order, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Chris Olave, and in that 5th spot, I would go with Jameson Williams coming off that torn ACL. If he didn't suffer that torn ACL in the national championship game, he might be a top 10 pick, honestly. So all of those guys I really like, but again, this wide receiver class is deep. I'd be cool with Jahan Dotson. George Pickens reminds me of a skinnier Alshon Jeffrey. This wide receiver class, it's deep, man. Are you excited for the 2022 NFL Draft, which is coming your way right around the corner? If so, get into the comment section and show me that you're hype, that you're pumped up by typing me. I'm really pumped up because I'm going to be live on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel all 3 days of the 2022 NFL Draft from April 28th to the 30th. All 3 days, all 7 rounds, breaking down every single pick. I hope that all of you in the Niner gang join us by going to youtube.com/chatsportstv. Hit that red subscribe button so that you can stay in the know with all of the best draft coverage on YouTube and the most watched NFL draft coverage on YouTube, but also we'll be live on Rumble. BK from the Bay, what's good? Chase, do you think the 49ers will deal Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo to 2 different teams for draft picks? That'd be crazy. Now, John Lynch did say on Monday, I don't expect us to be all too busy on night 1 of the draft, which is somewhat rare for us because usually San Francisco is busy in round 1 because they're somewhat aggressive when it comes to the draft. But I'm not necessarily going to trust John Lynch. I think he could have a move up his sleeve. I don't think he wanted to unveil his plans because it would affect some of the other trade offers and value out there. If the Niners did trade away Jimmy G and Deebo, we'll certainly be breaking it down right here on the 49ers Report. That would be significant for a couple of reasons because it would open up a lot of money on the salary cap for the Niners. EJ Redemption, we should add speed, draft wide receiver Tyquan Thornton and Calvin Austin, trade Deebo to get either Barkley or J.K. Dobbins. Barkley, I think, might be washed. He's going into the final year of his rookie contract, coming off a couple of injury-plagued seasons. Because of that, I don't like paying a lot of money to running backs. J.K. Dobbins is a really good player. I think you might be able to get some better wide receivers than the guys that you listed, especially if you trade Deebo away and have some premium assets in the first 3 rounds that you could use. Some really good wide receivers who I'd rather target, and some of those guys I've already talked about, like a George Pickens, like a Christian Watson, potentially. Out of North Dakota State, give you some level of familiarity with Trey Lance. Jahan Dotson, he could slide into that 2nd round. But middle round guys, yeah, I think that's more so where Tyquan Thornton, Calvin Austin might slot. Jonathan Reese, with speed on the defensive side of the draft, what's the ratio of offense-defense that you see us drafting? Oftentimes, it really doesn't get broken down in that manner. It just comes down to best player available. Now, as of right now, with no Deebo Samuel trade having been made as of this recording, the Niners have 9 selections. Wouldn't surprise me if there's somewhat of a 50-50 split. Obviously, with 9 picks, I can do the simple math. It wouldn't be 50-50, right? But somewhere in that neighborhood of maybe splitting up those selections on both sides of the football. Are you confident that the Niners will make the right draft picks? They've made some really good selections in the past, and like any organization out there, they've also missed on some picks. Give me a Y for yes, you're confident in this organization, or an N for no. Jamie Bryant, one of our loyal viewers, what are the chances Jimmy G gets traded draft night, and when Deebo gets traded, you think he goes to the Jets for 10th and 36th? I think that if you're San Francisco, you have to ask for either number 4 overall, or you have to ask for that 10th overall pick. Now, this is my Deebo Samuel trade proposal. Niners get that 10th overall pick, and it's not 36 actually. It is 35th, which is actually even better. In my mock draft, I had the Niners going with Garrett Wilson at number 10 and Tyler Linderbaum at 35. So you fulfill wide receiver with Garrett Wilson. You get your future center if Alex Mack does or doesn't retire in Linderbaum. Those are the types of players that I'd want to bring in. Premium players who are going to be a part of your organization for the next 10 years, hopefully. Tropo 510, Chase, what's your opinion? Do you think players should focus more on winning Super Bowls or making money? Look, I'm not going to knock anybody for making money. In my life, I've had, first I went to Temple University to study broadcasting, packed up a Nissan Altima, didn't even research where I was going, went out to Illinois. I wanted to make more money, so I moved to Pennsylvania, worked for a local news station there, needed to make more money, and I wanted upward mobility in my life, so I came to Dallas to work for Chat Sports. Like, every step of the way, I have climbed the ladder in the broadcasting business, and every step of the way, I've made more money. Why is that? Because I want to be in a situation where I'm at now, where I wake up, look out my window, and look at the Dallas skyline and sip some rooftop coffee in the morning out of my French press. I like luxurious living, right? These NFL players, they've earned this. They've earned the right to make a lot of money. Now, I will tell you this. I'm not sure what I would do with $25 million per year. I kind of like what Cooper Kupp said about the Los Angeles Rams. He said, look, my contract negotiations, they're going to come up here momentarily soon, and I want a deal that doesn't necessarily make me the highest paid wide receiver. I'm not seeking that. I want a deal that's good for me and this organization. Like, how much can you do with this much money? I would sacrifice some money to be in a good situation, because in my last job, I was making decent money, right? I was also miserable. So I was seeking more stability, more of a foundation, and I wanted to go to a place where I worked with some people who I enjoyed working with and working for. I have that. And if you're in a dysfunctional environment like the New York Jets or the Detroit Lions, you can be making a lot of money. But if you're miserable, day in, day out, going to work, that takes away from your passion. So it's a little bit of a balance of both. Really appreciate that question. It's fun to talk life sometimes. Next question coming in from Alfred Arellano, a $5 donation. You are a true G. With number 10 and 35 or 38, do you think they'll skip over the top wide receivers and go offensive line or edge? I don't know if I'm too high on Christian Watson, but I think he'll be a stud with Trey. I think Watson's good. 6'5", ran a 4.3 40. Dude is certainly special. Now, we know by now that the Niners do prioritize offensive line and offensive line depth, as well as edge rusher, because those are two of the most important positions in sports. I've always said this. I look at, in terms of positional importance, get a quarterback, protect a quarterback, and get after the quarterback. Like that, it's very, very important for me. And the Niners have that team-building philosophy. Now, at either 10 or 35 or 38, whatever picks they get back, if they trade away Deebo, you have to go wide receiver at one of those spots, because I don't think that Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, and whoever is going to be good enough in your wide receiver room, especially with an inexperienced quarterback. Alfred Arellano, appreciate that super chat. We did have a $10 one come in for Michael Fernandez, although he retracted his sticker. I think we still did get that super chat. I'll give you a verbal shout out, Michael. Really do appreciate that donation as well. For all of you who watch this 49ers News and Rumors mailbag, appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by hitting that red sub button, or go to youtube.com/49ers TV. This will be your one-stop shop for all of the best Niners draft coverage and Niners coverage year round.